Hey, welcome folks. Glad you could be with me today. I want to talk about a couple things. And oh, by the way, this is take two. My microphone battery died on me the last time. I thought I had some more. They were not rechargeables. Like the receiver and the camera, they're rechargeables. So I had to drive into town because I don't live in town and buy some batteries and drive back. So the cost of the batteries and cost of my gas, and I don't make any money off this. I'm doing this all for you, okay? Just saying. Not complaining, but I'm just saying I spend money doing these videos and I get absolutely zero in return. So I hope you appreciate what you're getting. Now, on the subject of what you're getting, a lot of people think that what they're getting is based on what they see, image. And I've thought about this subject a number of times. I'm only going to touch on it briefly today, though. But I was reminded again when I was putting my pants on today, because as you can see, these are not the ones I usually wear. These are actually a pair of Wranglers. You know, your typical blue jean, kind of Western looking. And I was thinking, geez, you know, those pants on, a guy should have cowboy boots, Western shirt, cowboy hat, set of chaps maybe. Now, I'm not going to play the part. I'm not going to just do it to look good, because I think that's what a lot of guys do. In fact, I know that's what they're doing when they get all dressed up in their Western attire. And somehow people seem to think that they have more credibility if they look the part. And that's a little bit disturbing. Don't let your beliefs, you know, be based on what the image is that you see. Let it be based on what you actually see the person doing, not how they look. Because all too often people, you know, judge individuals on their imagery, and actually there's one fella, he refers to these clinicians as big hats because they all wear the big Western hat, which I had one years ago. I found to be completely and totally impractical. Always bumping it on something, it's always in the way, I always had to take it off. It was a nuisance. You know, every time you take it off, you got to look after it and make sure nobody sits on it or, oh, whatever. You know, your basic ball cap. Free, and if it gets wrecked, I don't care. Generally, these black ones turn into more of a gray color in about a year from the sun shining on them, at which point they're also pretty dirty, and I do wash them a couple of times, and then they get to the point where I just throw them out and get another one. Free. I don't worry about imagery. And oh, one of the things about imagery that you should be cautious about, when you see guys wearing chaps, which you quite often see in clinics and stuff, you'll see guys wearing chaps. Now, I think, yeah, they look Western, but you got to know why people wear chaps. Why, in the real world that is, not at clinics, in the real world, why people wear chaps is either they're roping and it's to protect the upper leg from the rope as it gets dallied onto the horn and comes across your leg. Or if you're riding in very rough bush where you get lots of sharp, thorny bushes dragging across your legs, it can save a lot of wear and tear on your pants and your legs, the flesh underneath too. On rare occasions, there's also a type of a chap. It's not really a chap though, that farriers will wear when they're doing trims. Now, when you go to a clinic, those guys are not roping, they're not riding in the bush, and they're not trimming horses. There's absolutely no reason to wear chaps. Okay, so I hope you understand this. When you see a guy wearing chaps at a clinic, they're just trying to look impressive. They're trying to look the part. And I would be hard-pressed to find a good reason for them to be wearing chaps. Maybe they got one, maybe some of them do. But I'm betting that most of them do it for the imagery because, you know, people see somebody that looks the part, they think, hey, this guy must know what he's talking about. He looks the part. I'm thinking that might be one of the many reasons I don't have a lot of views is because I don't dress the part. You know, I don't have a cowboy hat. I don't have a Western shirt. I rarely wear blue jeans. In fact, I think this is one of the few videos I've ever done with blue jeans, maybe 3, 2. I don't know, not very many. I don't own a pair of cowboy boots. I don't wear Chaps. Actually, I don't own them either. Although I'm thinking of buying a pair. Only I'm not going to buy actual Chaps because they're insanely expensive, by the way. But because I do my own trims and it helps protect my pant legs, a welder's Chaps. They actually have an apron part on them, and they're split down the middle just like Chaps and protect your legs. And the last time I checked the price on them, they're only about $35, whereas to buy an actual set of Chaps, you're looking at over $200. Kind of a price comparison. Okay, we're going to get into, now that we've talked about fashion and imagery and the things that people fall for, I want to talk about, well, it's sort of about lunging, but I don't actually do lunging, so it's not really about lunging, but it is about how you get the horse to move. And it's also got to do with another video I did a while back too, is don't nag your horse. And what I mean by that is, once you ask the horse to do something and it does it, you never continue to ask. You immediately stop asking, because that's how the horse learns to do the right thing. It's not from the pressure of the cue, but from the release of pressure when they do the right thing, and you take that cue away. So somebody else said, you know, maybe they got it from somewhere else too, I don't know. But they always say, horses don't learn from pressure, they learn from the release of pressure. So they don't learn from your cue, they learn when you stop cueing that they're doing the right thing. And at that moment, and that's why you can't keep asking the horse to be doing something that it's already doing. And I'm going to get into that, because these two things of lunging and nagging a horse are very closely related. They go together. You know, you need to avoid one in order to do the other. Let me just put a lead on this guy. One of the other things I'm going to do here, a lot of people like lunging in a round pen. And I thought about that, but it's harder to set up the camera so that you can get a good view, so you can see what I'm doing in a round pen. So I figured this is the better way to do things. So we're going to do it on lead, because it basically works exactly the same. There's no real difference. It's just you're going to get a lot better view this way. That's the main reason. And I'm going to use my training lead, which is a little bit longer than your average lead. But this is 18 feet, this one. It's a length that I've found is reasonably good. I've talked about that before. And then I've also talked about how, in different situations, different tools. Now today we're going to use a flag. I actually have my other one I had in here last time when the batteries died. I just forgot to bring it in again today. So we're going to use this one instead. It's a homemade one, but it works. It does the job. And it will work for what I want to show you, because if you want your horse to move in any given direction, and just be convenient since he's already pointing that way, we're going to start by asking him to go that way. And just like how horses ask one another to move in nature, whenever you want the horse to do something, you graduate in stages when you make the request. In which case, I'm going to start with the send. I'm just going to point the direction I want the horse to move. And if he goes right away, that's fine. If he does not go, then we're going to escalate. We're going to maybe step towards him, which, by the way, is something I talked about in my other failed video. That one of the things that is a common problem, actually two things, two major issues in doing this, people struggle with, is when they want the horse to move forward, they start pulling on the lead to get it to go forward. They can't figure out how to get it to move in the first place. Because if it doesn't instantly move, they think they're doing something wrong, they need to do something. So one of the things that people frequently resort to, and I've seen it done, and honestly I've even done it myself years ago, is they tend to pull on the lead to try and get the horse to go. Well, if it doesn't really want to go, and if it's not already properly trained to be responsive to the lead, pulling on it's probably not going to work anyhow. And not only that, but when you pull, what is likely to happen is the horse is going to turn into you, and it might come forward and actually end up on top of you. You don't want it doing that. You want it going around you. You don't want it coming towards you, okay? And see, even just the slightest gesture with my hand, and he's turning into me now, I don't want him this close. Back off, buddy. Back off. And this is where I have chosen to use the flag, because it works way better in close quarters than a lunge whip. If I was doing this without a lead, say in the ring here, or even in the round pen, if he was a little further away from me, I'd probably use a lunge whip. That'd be a better tool for the job, in my opinion. But in close quarters like this, the flag is my tool of choice. It's much more effective in close quarters. It's easier to use, and it works well. So, okay, first off, you don't pull on the lead. That's number one thing. The second thing is you do not step back. And I see a lot of people doing that, and that kind of comes along with, if they're pulling on the lead, they're probably moving backwards. Not good, because although moving backwards creates a draw and gets the horse to move, it's going to go towards you. You don't want it going towards you. Already he's taking a step. If I take a step back, see, he's turning into me already. He's moving towards me, and I'm not pulling on this lead. I'm just stepping backwards, okay? See how that works? But if I move towards him, I want him to move. I'm going to step towards him, because this is one of the basic principles. He's not going to respond to it, but we'll put some pressure on him with the flag. There we go. Now he's going to back away. But that's one of the ways that horses communicate, and it does not matter whether it is a domestic or wild herd. They do the same thing. As the hierarchy in a herd, which exists. Some of you don't believe that stuff, and I know whenever it comes to the subject of leadership, there's always people that disagree on it. But when it comes to hierarchy between two horses, and I will repeat something I've said many times before, no two horses are equal. None, never, ever, ever, ever. And when it comes to determining the hierarchy between two horses, it's very simple how they do it. Well, it could be presented in a number of different ways, but the long and short of it is, it's who moves who. And if one horse backs away from the other horse, even one step, they're automatically lower. Either that, or they're attempting to create a draw to bring the other horse in. Not likely. Mostly, if it's a confrontation between two horses to determine hierarchy, the one that steps away is the lower horse every time. It's who makes who move. And if one horse moves towards the other one, and I actually saw something really neat one day, not long ago. There was two horses out in the pasture there, and the one horse, he was fairly new, and I'd seen him go through the ranks, determining who was higher. And he gets to this one, and the two of them just stood there, standing there nose to nose with tiny little head flicks, and kind of like if you could hear what they were saying. It was, you move, no, you move, no, you move, no, you move. And this went on for a few minutes, and I stood there watching these two horses nose to nose, and eventually one took a step back, turned, and walked away. That's how the horse determines hierarchy. So that is, again, one of the reasons you do not ever want to step back, because if you do step back, one of the things that's happening is that horse is higher than you. You've lost control of the horse because you're no longer higher than it, and you can't tell it what to do. There's a risk of getting kicked or bitten if you're not higher than the horse you're working with. You don't have to be the herd leader. You just have to be higher than the one you're working with. So the two things you do not pull on the lead, and you do not step back. You always move in towards the horse, or at the very, very least, stay neutral. Depends on the horse what is necessary. Sometimes making the horse pick up the pace can be achieved by moving into it. And I'm going to give you some examples on how to get the horse to move and how not to nag, because I'm not going to nag him. I'm going to ask him to do something. I'm going to ask him to move, and when he moves, I'm going to stop asking. And we're going to start off with a point. I want him to go that direction. He's not going. So we're going to step in towards him, little flick of the flag, we've upped the pressure, and as soon as he starts moving, I stop asking. No more flag, the arm's not pointing, I'm not moving into him. But if he stops, oh, that was very close, That's not fast enough. I want him to go faster. So I'm going to ask until he gets up to the speed I want. There we go. Nice walk. I stop asking. And he will continue to go around and around and around and around until I ask him to stop. Or, well, maybe he won't. Maybe he's going to stop. I'm not happy with that. Okay, keep moving. And I'm going to keep asking him to go forward faster until he gets to the speed I want, like that. And I'm going to stop asking. See, if he stops doing what I ask him to do, I can ask again. But as long as he's doing what I've asked, which in this case is just a nice little walk, I'm not going to ask again. We're just going to, keep him going around like this. As long as he keeps going, I'm going to leave him alone. I'm not going to bother him. I'm not going to ask. I gave this scenario once before, is nagging your horse, asking it when it's already doing something, is kind of like somebody asks you to take out the garbage, and on your way to the garbage bag, they keep asking you to take out the garbage. That's kind of annoying. You get to the garbage bag and you pick it up and you start heading to the door to go outside. They're still asking you to take out the garbage. You get outside and you're heading towards the bin outside. They're still asking you to take out the garbage. The whole time. Take out the garbage, take out the garbage, take out the garbage. I'm taking out the garbage. By the time you get to that bin, well, you're pretty much ready to turn around and smack. So if you keep getting asked the same question over and over while you're already doing what you're supposed to be doing, it's going to get really annoying, if nothing else. Now, I don't know what goes on inside the head of a horse, so I can't verify that they find it as annoying as I would. But I can guarantee I would, and I try to relate what, my experiences with those of the horse. So I suspect very much the horse is going to be finding it pretty annoying. And there's other problems too that will create. For one thing, let's compare it to riding. If you're riding your horse and you're constantly kicking the thing to get it to move, well, one of two problems can occur, or maybe both of them, and one after the other, but you're either going to always have to kick the horse to get it to move, or eventually, worse yet, that horse is finally going to just quit listening to you because it goes, hey, I did what you asked, you kept asking, so what was the point of doing what you asked? Forget it, I'm not listening to you anymore. And that is a very real problem that happens quite often. Now, you can actually rectify those problems by going back to not nagging, so that the minute the horse does what you ask, you stop asking, and in very short order, the horse will respond much nicer. It doesn't actually take long. It can be fixed. All problems can be fixed. But that is actually, one of them that can occur. It is fixable, but it's a lot easier if you just prevent it. Don't nag the horse in the first place. So, like I said, you want the horse to move, you ask her to move. Excuse me, sir, I want you to move. You don't want to move? Okay. I'm going to get a little more forceful. And away he goes. Just got to bring him back out this direction a little more so you can see. I had to move in case you haven't noticed. Oh, keep going. Now, I've only asked him to move, and when he started moving, I quit asking. But if I want him to do something different, be it a different speed, different direction, I can ask again. I can ask, I want you to go faster. And if he doesn't immediately pick up, well, I'm going to give him a reason to move a little faster. There we go. Doesn't take me too seriously sometimes. Oh. And as soon as he slows down, I ask again. Keep going. There we go. He didn't respond right away, so I had to ask a little louder, which was with the flag. Well, he still keeps slowing down. That's okay, this will happen. And every time he slows down, I ask again. And then he learns that if he slows down, I'm going to ask again. And you know what? You better move a whole lot faster, and you better stay moving, or I'm going to ask again. But then we can also stop him, and we can change direction. And as soon as he changes direction and moves, I'm going to stop asking. See how that works? And see how easy it was to change direction with him? Because this is exactly what I've always done with him. I only ask him once. And that creates a responsive horse. Now, in his particular case, he's a little thick sometimes. And sometimes, well, as you saw, I get a little forceful with him to get him to move. That does occasionally happen with him. It's just his personality, but that's okay. Other than that, he's a real easygoing guy. We kind of like him. So we put up with that. And don't let it bother us too much. But that is basically what you do, is if you want the horse to move, ask. As soon as it does what you want, leave it alone. And when you're asking, you do what horses understand. You communicate the way horses communicate with one another. You escalate when horses are relating to one another. Their escalation can, maybe start off with a little stink eye, maybe then an ear pin, then a squeal, a head toss, and eventually it will escalate to a bite or kick if the other horse does not move. I don't want to resort to that. Not only that, but if I start kicking, who knows, if he kicks back, I'm going to lose, so we don't want to go there anyhow. But that's basically what you do. I will point. If he goes, fine, we'll leave him alone. If he doesn't go, well, then we're going to start using the flag, or maybe a cluck, or maybe the cluck then the flag. I like using the cluck in between. I don't do it much when I'm on camera, but I do like to use the cluck. It's also something that can translate to the saddle later on, and I have been using it with him on the saddle. But you could also start with a light flick of the flag and escalate to a very big wave of the flag, which you see he responded more to. And that wasn't directed at him. And he knows that now. See? Context. Hey, buddy. So, I hope that helps a little bit. A little bit on lunging. Well, sort of. Getting your horse to move. Why I don't lunge. And do not nag your horse, because you're going to create problems if you do. I did a video on that once before, but it's been a while, and I just thought this little demo might be a little bit better than the previous video. So actually a lot of my older videos I'm actually redoing now because I'm doing a little bit better job of my videos to let you see what is going on. And like I said, again, I selected this particular horse because he is my least educated one. And as you saw, he occasionally did give me a little bit of problem, because we haven't done this for quite a while with him either. So he did give me a little bit of problem, occasionally didn't want to go, that sort of thing. But in very short order, actually I did this video over a couple of days too. So each time you saw me doing it, when he hesitated, it was because it was the first time I asked him to move. And usually when you ask him to move, once we've done it once or twice, the next time I ask, I just give a quick point and away he goes right away, because he knows that, well, if he doesn't move right away, next thing you know, there's going to be this silly flag waving at him. So anyhow, I hope that was helpful. I hope you enjoyed it. Share this video with your friends, the channel, and have a good day. Go play with your ponies.